Hey everyone, it's great to be back and we look forward to bringing you great podcasts in the future. But before we get to today's show, I really wanted to tell you again about our friends over at Cost Price Supplements. Now they're Australia's fastest growing online retailer for the supplements sector. Now remember, you can get 15% off store-wide if you use the code WLS Family. Now that covers whether you're a WLS patient or not, remember, so that gives you pre-workout, post-workout, supplement suppressors, no matter what you want to have a look at. Go have a look at it, including protein bars. But just remember that that code doesn't include Quest bars, samples, books, and OptiFast. Just remember that discount code is WLS Family, and make sure you're supporting this great company that has been such a great support to our community. And we are back on planet Earth. Can you believe it? We actually landed with our own space shuttle. I think we need to get Richard Branson to fly us into space more often.
I would like to go back.
You want to go back already? I mean, you know, we went to your home planet of Venus.
Yes. You didn't like it though.
No. Trust me, boys. You don't want to go there again. Don't want to go there in the first place, but, you know, you have to do what you have to do, don't you? Well, what? I mean, what can I do?
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it is. It is very good to be back.
You're very close to my face right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. It's just the way it is.
Do you want me to give you guys a minute?
Can you?
I'm feeling rather.
Where's his voice coming from? I can't hear it.
We have a special guest today.
Do we?
Yes.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Where?
She even drove from the other side of the city over here.
Who would do that? Who'd want to come visit us?
I mean, you asking me, mate. Took me longer to get here than I expected, but I'm here and I'm excited.
Yes, we do have a special guest. Chantelle, introduce our special guest.
We
for
have
us.
the lovely Rosie _ WLS _ RNY.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Everyone knows there's Rosie.
Hey guys.
With her trademark, hello lovelies.
Hey lovelies.
Rosie, it's really good to have you here, so thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I can't believe I've got the first sweat of the season. I can't believe it's
hot.
So hot today.
It is unbelievably
hot. But it's
hot.
amazing, yeah. It's I'm really good.
What about you, Shane?
I'm sore.
Oh, look, stop complaining.
I'm so sore. And I'm drinking water. That's my third bottle today. I don't normally drink pure water.
I'm so sore. Can you rub my back, baby? Oh my god, I'm so
should we
sore.
tell people the real reason why we took a break?
Yeah, Shane went under some surgery. Yeah, some changing surgery.
Did I?
A different kind of transition.
Oh, right.
Help you on that transition to a new life.
The main reason for the break is actually the subject of this podcast.
Well, before we get to that,
Oh, soz, mate.
you know, we did take a break. We just needed a couple of weeks off, you know, to regain. I mean, to regain. Oh, geez, we don't want to talk about that.
Oh my god.
To regain some composure, I meant, not regain pounds. I mean, let's just take it easy, guys. All right, but it's actually been 1 month and 1 day since our last podcast went out.
We even have a new desk.
I know, this desk's a bit weird. I mean, we're a bit close right now.
Very close. I'll get Rosie to take a photo afterwards so then people can actually see how close we were.
I mean, this was not intentional. I look, it's just the way it is.
I can
mate.
smell like chicken salt.
Hey, I didn't eat any chicken salt, mate. It must have been you. It must be reflecting off my face. Just bouncing off. But I mean, we'll get to the subject of our podcast in a moment. How has your week been, Rosie?
My week has been actually really crazy, and I'm a very social person, but I would normally try and keep the social interactions to the weekends and everything because, I love my sleep and I get up early for yoga and stuff. So, but this week's just been mental. I've had something on every single night, so looking forward to some R&R tonight. And but yeah, really good. Seen a lot of beautiful people and got a lot of work done, so it's been a great week.
What about yourself, Chantelle?
Me?
If you guys could see how close these two are. Like, I'm known as the affection monster, and this is making me uncomfortable.
Oh my god! My week's been pretty full on. It's been pretty stressful. But push all that aside, I've got a Zen weekend next weekend. I'm going to a yoga and anxiety workshop to go and help out in the country somewhere. I've got that to look forward to. Hopefully it helps. And the nerves are already starting to build up for February now.
But, even after having such a stressful week, it's fantastic coming home to such a loving and adoring husband, isn't it?
No.
What do you mean? It's not
Did
really
you enjoy
nice.
your sandwich yesterday?
Look, we're not going to even talk about that. That was disgusting.
Do you want to tell them what I did? Or
made-
should I tell them? 5 days a week, I make him sandwiches for lunch. For work. I already do it 5 days a week. I actually set my alarm clock earlier to get up to make him sandwiches.
You get up early anyway, mate.
Anywho, he said to me, for cricket, can you please make me sandwiches? And I thought...
I did say you don't have to. I asked if you would.
It's the way you said it.
The way I said it was, hey, babe, do you mind if actually can you make me some sandwiches for cricket? It's okay if you don't want to, but if you can, that'd be awesome.
And I'm like, mate, you're already pushing it. I'm already making them for you 5 days a week. So I'm like, cool. I started making them and I took a bite out of both of them and wrapped them up.
I mean, I laughed at the first. She threatened to do it like weeks ago, and I laughed at the first one. And then when I came to the second one, I was pissed off. Like, I mean, come on, man. I can't eat a whole lot as it is. But you take a bite out of the amazing... to be perfectly honest, that was still amazing. But, I was upset.
It's just a warning not to ask me again on a weekend.
I'll ask you
Otherwise,
every
there'll be
weekend.
another bite missing.
Mate, I'll ask you every weekend. Every single weekend. But my non-WLS story of the week is actually getting back into Game of Thrones, and we're only up to season 4. But the last episode that we're up to is I got to see Joffrey die. Yes. I was so happy. Yes. But he didn't die as spectacularly as I would have wanted him to. But he still died, and that was what was great about it. So that's the episode we're up to. Don't anybody message us and tell us spoilers and things like that. We don't want any of that, especially you, Rosie.
It may happen.
No.
How epic was it?
It was
super
amazing.
It was incredible.
And I cannot believe that it finally happened. I knew it would happen, but I cannot believe it finally happened. But
I think it's his mum who did it.
No, that's just silly. We're not going to get into this because Rosie's just going to end up telling us, and that's not happening. So let's get into this week's episode. And yes, we'll get back to probably doing an episode a week, but let's get back into it after a month. Chantal, why don't you tell us about what we're talking about this week?
So part of my break, why I wanted a break from the podcast, was just to concentrate on me a little bit more. And I've been talking to Rosie quite a bit about how I've been and how some other people in the community have been, and we decided that we will collaborate and make episode 15 the importance of mental tools. I have been struggling for a couple of weeks, or I lie, not a couple of weeks, probably a couple of months. It's crazy. You become your own worst critic, and it's about eventually getting the tools that you need to be able to sort yourself out.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just for those of you that might not be familiar with me, so my name's Rosie, and I had a RMY bypass back in March.
Thanks for introducing this, Chantel.
Oh my God, I was getting there.
It's all right. Yeah, so back in March I had an RMY bypass, and so it's been just over 6 months now. I've lost close to 35 kilos, and I couldn't agree more, Shan. It's a very interesting journey. It's a very transformative one, and I'm very aware that only 6 months post-op, I'm still I guess still in my infancy. It's still in its infancy, but what has really I guess shocked me the most about this journey is just how up and down it is, and how when the weight is no longer the problem, like when you lose all of the weight and when it melts away, because having a bypass, I know the different procedures are different, but it sort of melts off you a little quicker than other procedures, which in itself is quite confronting. But I guess when all of that melts away, you're left with you know, who kind of am I now? I'm not the big friend anymore. I'm not the big girl. I'm not this sort of person that I always attach my weight to. So yeah, it's very up and down, 100%.
It's almost like you need to create a new identity in a way. It's more when you went to the surgeon's office before you did all this, it's like, yeah, cool, I'm signing on for this roller coaster, but it's one that you can't get off. It's up and down constantly, and I'm nearly 3 years post-op.
3 years?
Yeah.
Mate?
Yeah. Nearly 3 years.
It's 2.5.
Yeah, I'm nearly there. It's in March. We're nearly in October.
Nearly there would be within maybe a month or two.
Mate, shut up. Get away from my mic. All right, let's say 2.5. And I have days where the scale absolutely dictates how my day should be. I can't believe I let a machine run my life. And it's about acknowledging what you're doing. Like I said to you before when we had a chit-chat, if you would have said to me 2 years ago, you're going to be purging, you're going to have an eating disorder, and you're going to have body dysmorphia, I would have just laughed at you. I'd be like, that's not me.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the biggest struggles is for people pre-op is lack of knowing, you know, what's life going to be like. And for the people that choose to have sleeve or bypass, it's a permanent procedure. There's no going back. So, you know, you really have to go into it with faith that the grass is going to be greener on the other side. But a lot of that is the grass is not just greener on the other side by default. You know, you've got to water it, you've got to tend to it. Sometimes you've got to reseed the ground. And it's the hard, like, I think one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk about this was because I think a lot of me just assumed that once I lost the weight, like, I remember walking out of the surgeon's office after I'd made the decision, yeah, we're going to go ahead with it, or my family were very supportive, and just going, I can't believe in like 6 months, or like this summer, let's say, because I had it in March, so like this next summer, I'm going to look so different, life is going to be incredible, I'm going to be living up to my fullest potential and that stuff. And it just doesn't work like that. And I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this particular topic is because I have acknowledged, it's about self-awareness and acknowledging there's still a really long way ahead. But that doesn't mean that journey doesn't need to be really beautiful and really strengthening and really inspiring to others, you know. But yeah, I think you do go through a real loss of identity initially. I mean, I have. I always saw myself as the bigger friend or the funnier friend. I don't know how funny I am. Friends of mine will listen to this and be like, mate, you weren't that funny. Sorry.
I used to make jokes about myself so they wouldn't have to do it. Yeah, absolutely. I always used to sort of poke fun at myself, but I just identified as that person. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about this topic because I think I'm starting to, or have actually well and truly now understood that the long haul for me is definitely going to be the mental game. It's the physical takes care mostly of itself, at least it has for me, but the mental is going to be really the biggest battle for me, but I think also definitely the most fulfilling. Hardest thing for me sometimes would be, I've obviously lost a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And I look in the mirror and I still see old Shan.
Yeah.
Some days I see new me and I'm like, oh, who's that?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
100%.
oh, I look good. But most of the time, it's like I still see myself as that girl on the train with that photo that kind of went viral. And I feel gross. And it's so stupid. I feel most surgeons need to do a package where you don't just see a psychologist beforehand to deem if you're mentally prepared for it. They need a team that's going to go with you all the way. Not just, I feel with us, with who we went through, it was kind of, yeah, you're done.
Yeah. 100%.
And there was no aftercare. And aftercare is so important mentally because your body is changing, your mind's changing, and then for so many years you've been thinking a certain way, and then this other, it's like having two people on your shoulders. This one's slowly dissolving, and this one's coming. You're like, who are you?
Yeah, 100%. I think what's shocked me so much was that, so I went to a GP. I went to a new GP because my old GP, this is the start of my journey, my old GP was just sort of, saying, just more exercise and more eating well and more, And, it's just years of this. And I was doing all those things. By the way, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I've got hypothyroidism. So they're the two endocrine conditions that cause me to not only gain weight like a champion, but, hold on to it and not be able to let go of it. So anyway, went and saw a new GP, full medical history, and he was the one that referred me to my surgeon. But, yeah, the first part of the process, seeing the psychologist and dietitian and everything, that was all pretty breezy. And I knew, as well as all of the medical team behind me, that my conditions were primarily the endocrine problems, and it wasn't, let's say, a food addiction or anything like that was really driving the weight. But, afterwards, it was just, it's pretty much... I love my surgeon and his team have been incredibly helpful and everything, but it really was up to me to drive the post-op, psych sessions and everything. And I think that I always thought that it was going to be far more kind of encouraged, and it's more just, if you think you need it, And
that's what I don't
think people
like.
drown a little bit there because... They're just like, well, I don't know if I...
It's kind of like being dropped off in a street, and it's like, which way do I go now?
Yeah,
do I follow everyone else? But you don't follow everyone else because everyone's different. You don't know where they're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe it'd be great if there were just like a couple of extra sessions, you can get mental health care plans and stuff like that now where they subsidise sessions. It'd be great if it was kind of encouraged that you had to do at least, let's say, 6. Because I've only had... I think it's 6 now. And I approached a psychologist. I did some research and I approached one on my own accord. But what I've got out of that is just incredible, and it's not anything that I expected. So, I think if all surgeons and sort of approached it like that, I think it would be fantastic.
What do guys suffer? Do you have any thoughts like that? Like... You become your own worst critic in a way after your whole journey, Grant? Yeah, I'm coming. Hi.
Just wanted to get closer to you, mate. Look, from a guy's point of view, this has been very general, and I've said, my opinions are very generalised, especially on this podcast. I don't know whether it's a genetic makeup. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor.
Dr. Love.
Dr. Love. But for me, we're very simple. We're very simple beings. And it's not to say that guys can't think this way. It's not to say that guys can't have those feelings and those paranoid thoughts and, those worries that women do as well. For me, I'm very simplistic. I like to keep things simple because it keeps me stress-free. So I see the stresses that, from a partner's point of view, I see the stresses that my wife goes through, and sometimes I can't understand. I just like to listen. And that's why I keep it simple, so that I don't have that extra stress. I don't have that extra complication that is going to cloud me in my judgment, that can maybe help other people. And, I was, in my family, I've got 2 older sisters. So, and, growing up with that and growing up in a separate, my parents separated when I was 9. So growing up in that as well, that didn't affect me either. So once again, it's just something that I've always tried to keep that kind of stress out of my life. So from a guy's point of view, and every guy is going to be different, I'm sure if we were talking to Nick, like we did last time, and asked him the same question, his answer would be different as well, because he's, as he explained in our last episode, he's experienced many different things, especially on his weight loss journey. But for me, I had a very smooth process. I had a very smooth operation. I didn't have to worry about those type of things. For the mental side, I certainly had issues, on my mental journey as well. But at the same time, because Chantelle and I had our procedures done so close together, my thoughts were more surrounding being supportive for her. So
It's hard because you don't know what the other person's thinking.
well, no, we're not mind readers, so it's you can only kind of help out a person by knowing them as best as you can and giving them as much support as you can.
My biggest mistake in the early days was comparing myself to someone else. Like watching someone else who was very similar in my time and then watching them drop so much and be like, yeah, I'm at the gym and yeah, I've just eaten a lettuce and yeah, and I'm just like, I'm on soft food.
Get that rocket in you, mate.
But it's just like, and then I've actually taken away from that using mental tools and said, I'm not just going to walk into someone else's chapter. It's their book. It's their journey. I'm going to write my own. Everyone's different. I'm not going to compare. So I guess the main point of this episode is identifying what mental tools do we have available that we can use. One thing I've been given recently was a journal to write my thoughts in whenever I'm having a bad moment. Actually, let's use an example. Anyone who has Grant on Facebook would have seen a couple of weeks ago, I put up a picture, well, he put a picture up of Jeannie that I drew. When I have severe anxiety attacks, I turn to creativity. And you literally went and got my pencils and my pad of paper and told me to sit down and draw. Within about 15 minutes, I was calm. I was in my own zone. But there's some people out there that don't know how or what they can use to be able to turn it around.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Look, I mean, I started yoga, which was something that I wanted to do. It sort of ticked a lot of boxes in terms of toning and strength, and I wanted to do some sort of exercise, but I was also really interested in the mindfulness aspect of it. I wanted to start meditation, and so it would kind of just, blended all of them together. So yoga is helpful, but again, it comes down to prioritizing time for yourself, and I've got to get up at 5:30 and do that in the mornings or on weekends. I've got to do that in the morning. So I think, going back to kind of, for me, I guess this episode's also about looking at things long term. We've now got this tool to help us physically. Why is that all we would need? I mean, the mental game is, I think for a lot of people, they got to where they were physically because of where they were mentally. And I think that, whatever path kind of led you there, now we've got this opportunity to have this tool to turn our lives around physically. And that takes a lot of hard work and determination. I mean, people say it's the easy way out. It's like, 6 months out and I still get caught, in the bathroom for an hour at a time at work, and my colleagues are like, where is she? And it's like, sorry guys, I'm just trying not to be sick. So it's definitely not the easy way. But I think, I wanted a happy and healthy life, and this tool's helping me with the healthy side of things. But for me, the happiness side, it's a hard thing to articulate, and I could talk on this topic for
I know
30 minutes.
We did free
Dad
messenger.
was like, I spoke to my dad this morning on the phone, and he's like, love, I just want to draw your attention to the fact you've just spoken for 2.5 minutes straight without taking a breath. But no, I think, I wanted to be happy and healthy, and it's making sure that anything, like drawing works for you. I'm a shocking drawer. I'm not a good drawer. I think it's just having the self-awareness to go, okay, I need to develop ways of being able to cope with the uncertainty and with the transition, and with at least the initial aspects of feeling really lost and feeling like you've lost your identity and feeling like you don't know where you fit in the world anymore, and feeling like, oh wow, this glass ceiling has shifted. For me personally, I put so much of my emphasis on the reason why I was unhappy with my life was based on the fact that I was overweight, and now I'm I'm a size 10, and I still feel scared and lost, and it helps you become more confident, but it doesn't make you a confident person. Like, it doesn't change your personality. I still have an addictive personality. There's, I think there's a lot of things that it's just about recognizing and being self-aware that, you need to have strategies to help you longer term. Just
a quick point that I'll bring up. Get these headphones off me, otherwise I'll hear myself speak, and that's really good. I suppose an issue from my point of view, not from a guy's point of view or a partner's point of view, just a general point of view, and something that we've brought up before, is that so many weight loss patients struggle with the mental side of it, after surgery and after they've reached their goal weight. And, in Chantelles' point that she's brought up, that she can still see, in her words, the fat girl. And, she can still see what she was and who she was. And I'm wondering, I suppose I've always kind of wondered this, and from both of your point of views, do you think, and this affects so many WLS patients, regardless of what procedure you've gone through, and sometimes it doesn't affect people at all. It certainly hasn't affected me. Why do you think that is? Do you think that is patients' ignorance in not turning to a psychiatrist when they should, or maybe not going for the right treatment, or maybe their doctor not offering the right treatment? What do you think that is? Do you think that it is a direct correlation? It's just something that we can't help, or do you think that maybe it's a mix of both? That people aren't doing the right thing versus that then there's people who are doing the right thing and doing that, going to see a psychologist and doing all the recommendations that a doctor has said and doing the things by the book, but they're still going on. Do you think it's maybe just something genetic that we can't fix?
No, I think it's people don't know where to start. That's my understanding.
You think that's exclusively what the
I was
issue
in that
is?
Category. There's people out there. People think that you've had a food, like you were saying. A lot of people that started this journey had a food addiction. They still have a food addiction. It just goes 100%. From one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it's a physical tool. It's not a mental tool.
No,
like that's the thing. So I think that there needs to be a kind of a bit of a more of a balance in terms of you get a physical tool that helps you lose the weight and keep it off if you do the right things longer term. But the mental side of things it sustains you. It's what I mean, I don't have a medical background. I'm not trained in any way. But if they say that it's important to get assessed from a psychology perspective to see if you're eligible, and you could potentially be denied because you don't have the, let's say, mental strength or whatever to continue, to get the tool, then what's to say that you've got the strength or know-how or resilience or understanding to go and seek the help later on?
Yeah, and I suppose I bring that up just purely because I know from our doctor's point of view, seeing a psychologist before and after was part of the plan.
Yeah.
Now, neither of us saw them. Now, I mean, and this is my point. It's really hard to pinpoint, and it'd be good for someone who actually.
Do you mean it was optional? Like, I don't understand.
No, well. Yeah, I suppose it was optional because it's up to you to go do it. Right. They recommend a psychologist, and
it should be compulsory.
It should be probably compulsory.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see. Yeah, well, it's interesting to see the two end cases because both of us, it was a recommendation. We both had to see them. We both didn't. I haven't really suffered from.
Why didn't you?
Personally, from my point of view, I feel that I didn't need to. I mean, that was just as simple as what it is, and maybe that's a guy's way out. Shan, I think, maybe just followed my lead in that case.
I was in denial with a lot of things.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't need to see a psychologist because there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe the stigma that comes with it. But I mean, it's interesting to see the end case, whereas Shan now feels that she really needed to go do it, and and for me, there's been no side effect of not seeing someone. Yeah. So
there is one thing that I'll say with the community as a whole. I feel we don't verbally or written on social media in brackets, we don't tell each other how we're really feeling, because this community is all about being positive, being inspiring, motivating, you know, losing weight. Like, yeah, like I've got so many likes on my picture. The likes don't mean anything.
Dim likes. Yeah. 100%. And we're talking about pretty much exclusively Instagram at this point.
Just Instagram right now, because predominantly that's where a lot of our audience comes from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about the bad side. And I try to as much as I can, because I want to be out there and I want to tell people this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm experiencing. I do it because there's people out there that are probably going through the same thing, and they're like, you know, thank you for someone for saying something.
Yeah.
Because if we don't talk about it, there's people out there that are suffering in silence, and that frustrates me, because I don't want you to be at home thinking, am I the only one who's experiencing this? Because we've had multiple conversations where I've said that to you and said, why is my head thinking this way? Like, this isn't normal. I shouldn't think like this. But when I go and talk about it openly, I get messages all the time. Oh my God, I'm exactly the same. Do you know what to do? And it's like, don't ask me what to do. Don't ask me. I put it out there because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I upload stories a lot. I probably do it 5 out of 7 days. Instagram stories, this is. And look, initially it was just something that I started doing because it got me out of my comfort zone and everything. But what I've found them to do for me on a very personal level is it helped me kind of obviously just share what I was experiencing. And if that was just day-to-day life about, you know, renovations to the house and whatever, you guys got a bit of that. But it also allowed me to kind of stay true to myself, and during a time where I really kind of was unsure about who I was. So it was like an outlet for me to just be, you know, 100% me when I had these feelings of who am I now, and what am I going to do with my life? And now this, like, I don't feel why do I not feel any different mentally? Like I should be, you know, I'd have weeks where I was euphoric, and then I'd have other weeks where I would just be I'd be really depressed, but I didn't want to. Sometimes I'd go away from stories during that time because I'd be like, I don't want to burden the community or whatever. And I often with those messages, when I'd be like, oh, sorry guys, I've been away because I've just been, you know, really struggling, I get a lot of messages, not only just saying like, you know, we're here for you and we care about you, but saying, you know, you're not a burden, like we want you to share. And over time I started doing it more and more and more. And I don't know if you've seen, but there's been a couple where I've just gone, like I've had really bad days or sometimes really good days, and I've just totally opened up on stories. Like I've just cried just really openly, and I feel like it's just, you get the most beautiful response from that. Like, and I don't do it for the dim likes. I do it because it forms a more rounded understanding that you go through just the most insane ups and downs.
It's you being real.
Yeah, it's just me being like, hey guys, you know, this is shit right now. And then I think the most recent ones I did just about a week and a half ago-ish. It was after my last psych appointment, and we spoke about, there was a bit of a breakthrough. We have several breakthroughs. It's excellent. But there was a bit of a breakthrough, and I was literally crying on, I was out getting noodles, and I was like crying at the front of the noodle shop. And I got home and I was exhausted, but I went upstairs before I had my noodles and I recorded it, and I started crying again. And I was like, you know, this is the most incredible transformative journey. But I mean, the weight side of things for me, it's so not about that anymore. Like, I know that I'm lucky in that a lot of my weight's now come off and I've pretty much lost all of my excess weight, but it's so much more about the fact that this surgery has been the catalyst for so many incredible changes in my life. Really confronting ones though. You know, like we talk about in my psych session, stuff that's really uncomfortable, stuff that it would be so much easier for me to not go and just, even though, you know, I've got this tool now and it's easy with the weight, and just be in complete denial and just stay with that glass ceiling over my head, you know. And I think it's about people understanding that it's important to go, and whether psychology is your thing, whether yoga is your thing, whether, like, there's so many different avenues out there, but ultimately, if you feel like there's someone that you should be talking to, or if you feel like you have stuff to say, or that there's areas of your life or, your mental health that you don't feel are quite right, then do something about it. Like, you've got no excuse. I'm not preaching, but there's nothing stopping you. You've done one of the hardest things you can do physically. Now you've just got to take that strength that you obviously have going through this whole experience and apply that mentally, and you've got the best chance then of having a really fulfilling life. That's what it's about for me, 100%.
Yeah. And for me, it's about sharing struggles so we can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And like we've had this conversation before, it's almost like the blind leading the the blind.
Yeah, when you don't talk about the crappy stuff, it is the blind leading the blind. I mean, how can you go through this experience and not have some of the lowest of the lows? When you I don't know.
Denial got me into the position of being nearly at 180 kilos. That's what denial did to me.
Yeah.
Now I've shifted all that and I'm on my new path.
Yeah.
I'm worried that I'm kind of going into that path of denial again, where I'm like, I don't need to see a psychologist.
Yeah.
I really do. But it's almost
you've got
me.
everything you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why when this opportunity came up for this workshop I'm going to next week.
Yeah, I'm actually really jealous.
I told Grant, I said,
yeah.
I think this is going to be really good for me. I get to go to a remote place away from everyone. No technology. It's a whole day workshop. I get to go be with people that I don't know, which is going to be a bit uncomfortable, but we're all there for the same reason.
Yeah.
And it's about stepping out of your comfort zone and going to do stuff to improve your mental health. Don't think that losing all the weight is going to eliminate everything.
No.
Because it's not.
Doesn't. No. 100%.
Yes, mate.
Do you have any questions?
Do I have any questions? Well, more questions about where the bacon is.
How do you deal with me, for example? With the...
How do I deal with you?
With the mental side of it.
Oh.
Because obviously I've heightened a lot since surgery.
Yeah, look, in saying that you've heightened, I suppose there's a lot of things that have happened where you have been more exposed. You've exposed yourself really on your own journey through Instagram and social media in general. And for someone who, like yourself, who suffers from anxiety, that's going to expose yourself to being heightened sensitivity. For me, I know after all this time that I just need to be patient in every single situation. So from a partner's point of view, from a guy's point of view, whether you're a partner or just a friend, you need to know that person. And it can be frustrating, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying it's always going to be an easy thing to deal with. But from my experience, knowing when to be patient, knowing when to, I suppose, hold your tongue when you're getting blamed for everything under the sun is important, because that person in particular is not necessarily doing that for a reason, or they're not actually acting out on you. They're more acting out because they need an outlet for their anxiety. So that's what I've learned over the years, and I know, especially considering I know from our experience and this particular example, how good of a person Chantelle is. I actually tell her, I want you to take it out on me, because I don't want you to take it out on somebody who doesn't know you as well as me. I don't want you to take it out on somebody who can't take it. Because if you do that, you might regret it even more.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I know you. I know what you like. I can take it.
I signed up for this when I put a ring on.
Exactly. Like I'm gonna love you regardless.
But I think it's also about learning the tools and strategies so that you can cope. So you don't have to take it out on other people. Because I think when you take it out on the people that you love, it makes it easier to hate yourself. And I think when it comes down to it, this whole experience can be very. It's not just. It totally changes your life. And whether or not you start at 180 kilos or 100 kilos or more or less or whatever the case is, it just changes the trajectory of your life so much. And what happens then is that it's not about just you. It's about the people that you're closest to. It's about the relationships that you have with them. And that can be, in some ways, it can bring you closer together. In other ways, sometimes friendships or relationships, obviously not you guys, because you're very close. But, like the divorce rate and the separation rate in this community is insane. And
yeah, we got told that when we were talking about surgery. People were telling us, do you see you and Grant together in the near future? And I didn't have
I think
any
it's made
doubts.
us stronger, personally. But I mean, just going back on that and what you're talking about, I think the expectations that Chantelles put on herself, and not just her, I think I think a lot of women especially, and I'm not saying it's as a sexist thing, but women dominate this sector of life in weight loss surgery, and the expectations that they all put on themselves is very high. And I think because a lot of them almost, you do this surgery, and I think 90 to 95% of people do this surgery because they want to change their life, they want to live a healthy life, whereas the 5% actually do it to avoid having to do things a little bit harder. And we all know that, as I say, 95% of people know it's not the easy way out. But I think once you reach that,
whether or not you think it is or you don't think it is, once you've had it,
you realise it's not.
100%. You realise it is not.
Absolutely.
Well, we know a couple of people that have had it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've kind of learnt their own lesson in that sense and what Rosie's saying. But I think once the expectation goes higher, then as Shem was saying, being heightened sensitivity, that goes up again. And what we're talking about with mental tools, it's really being able to cope in a whole new world.
I feel like I'm tiptoed around a lot sometimes, especially at work. However, I had a recent conversation with my boss about how I was feeling. Told him how antsy I was. Told him my struggles with going to the toilet and making myself sick afterwards. I just opened up to him. I was like, I need to kind of tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
He told me to have mental health day and was sending me links for Beyond Blue and stuff like that. And I was like, that's really nice. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it sounds really strange, but he'll see me get up and go to the bathroom and he'll time me now. So he's trying to help me.
Oh, okay.
So I know in the back of my head, I can't go in there and be sick because he's going to know what I'm doing.
Oh,
well, at least he's not timing your poo.
I wait till I come home. I have a phobia of pooping at people's houses and public. I wait till I go home, and that's why I get bellyache.
It's my safe place. Yep.
But it's like yesterday, I went to Daniel's Donuts and got a donut and ate it, and I was like, moderation. And afterwards, I was like, I feel like a monster. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no. And then you're fighting constantly. You're like, no, you work out. You're allowed to have a treat. And then I'm like, nah, you had surgery. You don't do that. Blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
I think we feel a little bit more pressure because it's like, I personally, I hate the kind of language of I can't, and I think
Like you can't eat bread?
yeah,
It's against the law?
that's rubbish.
Call the carb police.
I think it's just about working out what those tools are for us individually long term, because we all beat ourselves up and we live in a society where everything is instant. Everyone is, beautiful. Everyone has filters on it, all of that. Like I put filters and stuff on mine, but I think that I hopefully balance it out by being as I try and make myself I try and broadcast the most vulnerable parts.
I stick my neck out.
Where they are, I don't kind of make myself cry. But when I do cry, I record it. And I actually record so all of my stories, and I also sort of privately vlog just my experiences myself, and I don't upload those. So I have a record for later on down the track, because I know that life throws us curveballs, and it's just about, I guess the first transition for us, the initial transition is really difficult. But what happens when that's done? Like what happens when things calm down and it just becomes life? and you're not caught up in the momentum of I'm still losing or I'm still getting used to this or I'm still getting you've got to find ways along the way for it to work long term and for you to be fulfilled in yourself, to love yourself. You've got to find tools that allow you the space to nurture a healthy relationship with yourself, because if you don't do that, then how are you going to be successful long term? The tool might help you keep it off, but if you're unhappy mentally, it's just like money. You can have heaps of money. It doesn't make you happy. No. You can be skinny. You can be a size 8. It doesn't make you happy necessarily. I know for me, 6 months ago, if you had told me I'd be a size 10, I would have blatantly just laughed in your face and probably just burst into tears simultaneously. And I'm, I've got a long way to go. So if this podcast in any way teaches any sort of pre-op anything, for me, it would be that just focus on the mental stuff too. Give yourself the space. Try to form the healthiest relationship with yourself that you can, whether that's going to a psychologist, doing yoga, doing, whatever you think will help, just try it.
Prepare as best as you possibly can.
Just give it a go. Strength comes from discomfort. And, if you don't try new things, even if you just try them slowly, if you don't kind of give yourself the best chance, then why did you go through this massive surgery?
Losing weight is the main goal of this surgery, but it's not the whole story.
Well, from a health perspective, it is, but isn't the whole. What do you think? Isn't the whole goal to have a healthy and happy life?
Well, I see health as being physical and mental, and emotional,
that's a
spiritual.
Good way of looking at
Anyone can look at it, I suppose, that way, and I think that's one thing that I never grasped as a pre-op. It was like, I need to lose this weight, I need to save my life. And yes, that's the main point.
Yeah, of course.
You want to save your life physically, but you certainly don't need the extra strain mentally. Yeah. And I think that's what we need to prepare.
Like, you're taking care of your body, don't forget to take care of your brain.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I think that's really some good things to take away from that. So it's a really good episode and a really interesting thing to really bring up in conversation. And I really thank Rosie for coming down and having that discussion with us. So we'll start wrapping up the end of the show now. But look, I suppose we can't really end the show without getting to...
No, I'm waiting for Nick.
Oh, yeah, we don't have any music.
Nick, I'm still waiting for my music.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to do your own music.
Can everyone spam at formerly Chubby Hubby? I am still waiting for my Shan social set. I can't even say it.
I told you it was going to happen, Nick. So we're going to go over to Chantelle now for
Shan social shout out. Dun, 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 dun. I didn't fart and that was the chair.
I don't think our listeners would have even heard that. So
the chair.
I know. Anywho. My social shout out, let's just say for the last couple of weeks, because she keeps me entertained. She's currently going through pre-op at the moment. She's on day 11. She is having a gastric sleeve on the 12th of October. I've seen the struggles that she's put herself through. On day 2 of pre-op, she decided to walk through the food court, which is probably one of the worst things that you could ever do.
Rookie error, that's fine.
That's a rookie error. I know she really appreciates the support from the community. I'm super proud that she's utilising OptiCook rather than going with OptiSlim, like just the pure shakes and the bars. Like, she's actually cooking food. So I'm excited to see her journey. I know she's a big supporter of me and I'm a big supporter of hers. So my social shout out, well done, congratulations, and we can't wait to see where you go, is to Beck's Tiny Tummy.
Woo! I love this broad. Like, her and I message her. Oh, not heaps.
She's lost 2.2 kilos so far.
Good work, Beck. Keep it going. Keep on that pre-op diet, most important part. And it's probably a really awesome episode for Beck to listen to, getting prepared, as we were talking about, being as prepared as you possibly can be for both the physical and the mental journey is certainly prevalent within the community, of course. All right, guys. Well, as I say, we're coming towards the end of our first show in a long time, so thank you again for downloading. Thank you so much, Rosie, for coming down and having a great discussion with us.
Pleasure, anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
You are welcome back anytime, and I think all of our listeners should spam Rosie and ask her to come on over and over again and even be the host.
I think she should have her own episode.
Yes, I think she should host her own shows.
You and Stacey can do one.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Talk about the bypasses.
Her and I, no one else can get a word in. We go out and I literally get home with a sore throat. I love her so much, Stacey, you're the bomb. But I just also wanted to say, you guys, this is an incredible podcast for a number of reasons, but I just love the format and I love that we can come on and have a chat and there's no kind of, not really any agenda or anything like that, but it's just, it's a fantastic platform for people, to be able to understand someone else's experience, not from a clinical perspective, but just from, a life perspective. It's so important. So
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. And
No, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. And it's actually a really good point to bring up that this is very much from an experience point of view. As we always say, this show is opinion based. It's not expert based at all.
I do have my medical degree in Nigeria, though. I got it on Google.
Oh, good for you, mate. That's fantastic.
I bought it for $20. It says a certificate with my name on it.
So if anyone does need any medical advice or expert advice, please go to your specialist, your surgeon, your GP, whatever it may be. Please don't take this as 100%, fact or fiction or whatever it may be. It's purely opinion and experience based, and we go from our knowledge. But without further ado, I'd like to say thank you again to Chantelle and Rosie for joining me today, and that'll be us changing our ways, signing off.